Welcome, everybody, to another show here. I'm really excited. I have got Phil Gore here with me. Excited to jump in and hear his story and get some advice from him for you guys, the listeners, and for myself as well. I love this. I always learn a ton when I do these. But we're going to be talking about Phil's story and what he's learned so far through the journey. He's had very good success. You are in Dallas, Texas, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Very good. I was like Houston, Dallas. I was pretty sure it's Dallas, but I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna say this wrong. So Phil's been a student for a while. How long have you been a student now, Phil?
Man, I want to say 3 months or
3 months.
so. Yeah,
Gotcha.
definitely more than two, three, maybe four.
Gotcha. I thought you were a student a little longer than that. Man, it's crazy. Time's a weird thing. Sometimes it feels like it's going way fast. Sometimes it's slower. So
Yeah, totally.
so give me some background, brother. So before
Sure.
you got into real estate, what were you doing?
So I finished school in 2014. From there, I had
College or high school? Okay.
college.
And what did you
Uh,
graduate in?
Accounting and finance. So
Okay.
I was kind of a numbers guy. So I worked, from 2014 all the way through 2017, just doing your traditional corporate 9 to 5 type deal. And I was always looking for something else to do. So I left in 2018 to do the realtor. I got my license. I was a full-time real estate agent for about a year. It was all right. I didn't necessarily like it a whole lot, but it was good. But during that time period, I was learning about investing and learning about wholesaling, and I really liked. I liked the business model a little bit better. So I started focusing on trying to transition, and I couldn't quite figure it out. I ended up going back to my 9 to 5 last year in the summer, and pretty much from then I took a little break for a few months. And the late last year, I picked up the phones and started calling people again, looking for wholesale deals. And I closed 3 in March, and I mean I've been pretty consistent throughout the year since then.
Gotcha.
With
So far since March, you
mhm,
picked it up again and you started doing some deals. So how did you find
mhm.
those 3 deals in March? Where'd those come from?
Cold calling.
Cold call. What lists?
Mhm.
Like what kind of lists?
One came from a water shutoff list. One came from a tax pre-foreclosure list. One came from a probate list.
Perfect. So just some different generic lists. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
like they're lists that you're buying, right? They're lists you have to kind of dig for, which are
Yep.
usually the better lists, right?
Yep.
And I would argue with anyone driving for dollars is the very best list, and we can talk
Yeah.
about that here in a second. But that's cool. You started cold calling, and you're doing this on the side. How much do you make on
Mhm.
those 3 deals?
One deal I made, I made 12 on, and I JV that with someone else. So the gross revenue on that was 18.
Oh
I
wow.
took home
Okay.
12, and the other one I took home 6,500. The other one I took home 3,500.
Okay. So you made roughly $25,000 ish,
Yep.
22, somewhere around there.
hmm
Okay. So great money in a month,
Yeah.
especially when you're like, hey, I'm going to get back into this, and boom, you make 22 grand, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, why do you still have it? Like, actually, we're going to talk. So I called Phil the other day and I was challenging him to quit his job, but he's way more disciplined than me because I had to quit my job. Any excuse I would have had, I had to quit my job. But Phil's a great dude. So let's talk about that. You got those 3 deals. How was it that
hmm
you went from, you know, doing a little bit of retail stuff, trying to get into wholesaling, doesn't quite work out, go back to your 9 to 5. Most people give up. Most
hmm
people, when they try something, it doesn't work out as fast and as aggressive and as easy as they would have liked it to, and they give up for good.
Yep.
What kept you coming back?
Man, that's a really great question. Like I've, I don't know, wholesaling just it kept bringing me back. I've looked at land. I've looked at going back to retail. I've looked at being a mortgage broker. Just I've seen proof of concept with so many other people. One of the
Mhm.
first coaching programs I jumped into was with Brent. And in December, I flew out to his office and I hung out with Brent and Pace, and I saw that there's actually guys doing this business and it
Right.
works and it can be done. So I think the people that I started surrounding myself with, seeing success for them, really just kind of lit that fire
Love it.
again.
Love it. I love that you did that. Guys, everyone listen to this. One of the reasons people become successful, one of the main reasons is they have enough belief, right? Because if you don't believe in something you're trying to accomplish, you're not going to give 100%, right? You're not going to do the hard things. And because you don't give 100%, you're not going to have really good results. You're going to be like, see, I knew this was just a scam, or see, I knew I wasn't capable. And then you're going to give up, right? And you're going to spiral downwards with your success and whatever goal you had. But if you surround yourself with people that are doing and accomplishing things that you're trying to do and accomplish, you're going to be like, no, it is 100% possible. I know it is. And you're not going to believe it. You're going to have this conviction. Because you have this conviction, it's going to be a lot easier to push through those times where you're not accomplishing at the level you want to accomplish. And you'll realize that the problem is you and your input, not necessarily with the actual thing you're trying to accomplish. Right. So, Phil just shared with us that he went and spent some money to fly down and meet his mentor. My office is open to my students, right? They can come see me. They can come meet with me. I actually had one of my newer students, homie, came in today to our team meeting and sat in our team meeting. I have another student, Craig, that's flying in for Louisville, Kentucky tomorrow. I actually think he flies in tonight, but he's going to be here to do some skiing, and then he's going to come see me tomorrow. So my office is open, you guys. And I think it's so important, even if it's not me, but you meet with someone in your own market, maybe that's doing this and is successful, because you can be successful. Phil went and met with, who'd you say you met with?
Brent and Pace in their office.
Yep. Brent Daniels and Pace Morby. So those two guys are awesome. I've spent quite a bit of time with them as well in Florida, and I've been to Brent Daniels' office as well. I learned how to cold call from Brent Daniels. They're great people. A lot of respect for them. And so that's awesome that you did that. You took the initiative to go meet other successful other people in this industry, because I really feel like that's a huge factor of why you believed like you did. Because most people, they I think this works. They see a TikTok video or a YouTube video or something, and they go try for a little bit, dabble, and they go, maybe it's too good to be true. Let's not do it. Right. So that's awesome. So let's say you got those first 3 deals, and then were you doing deals consistently throughout 2018? Where were you?
So I did 3 in March. April, I didn't close anything. May, I didn't close anything.
Okay.
June, I don't even think in June I closed anything. No, I take that back. I think I did 2 or 3 smaller deals. I mean, one might have been for 3, one might have been for 5.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple deals in that time frame. And then between July, August, and September, I had 4 deals closed. Pretty good ones. So, and then since then I did another one in October, another one in November, and I've got one set to close this month. So now I'm at the point where I'm seeing the consistency of 1 deal a month.
Nice. So you're doing a deal a month at this point. What was the difference from going from 3 big deals really fast and then nothing, just a major dry spell, to now you're consistent? What was the difference?
When I did those 3 in March, those were from my own cold calling efforts. After that, I hired a VA. I started pulling some lists and really, just testing. I think that's kind of a lot of what marketing is. And it took me a couple months to really figure out how to do that well. And then I had a couple deals pop out of that. And now I've kind of got a good system down to where now I'm seeing a deal a month come from those efforts.
Love it. And where are these deals coming from at this point?
List?
Yeah, lists. Mm-hmm. Are they all cold calling? Have you mixed any other type of marketing systems? What are you doing to make that a reality?
So every deal I've done this year have been from cold calling, except for the one that I have under contract right now was from a text message, my first SMS, and my first driving for dollars deal. So thank you for that. And yes, 2 from Google pay-per-click.
Awesome. So it sounds like you just brought on texting then.
I did about a month ago.
Gotcha. And that was your first text campaign?
Yeah, I had played with it a little bit in the past, but this was the first time I actually got batch and started doing, going through all the data that I had and committing to it.
Awesome. So if you guys want to get phone numbers to do texting or cold calling, or if you want to do a text messaging campaign, we'll talk about that. You can use my discount code DFD for driving $4 with batch skip tracing and get a big old fat discount. If you want to take advantage of that price savings. So you're doing some deals, you're finding some consistency from these other lists, which is great. And I love that you're finding consistency, because a lot of people talk about how competitive certain markets are, and Dallas is always one of those ones who's like, oh, it's too competitive.
Right.
But you're still finding success from generic lists, right? Which in my opinion means that the Drive for Dollars list, if those are successful, Driving for Dollars will, yes, be even more successful. But why would you even join my program that specializes in Driving for Dollars when you're doing deals? Why would you want me to coach you?
I didn't. So in pulling those lists and making those calls, some of the deals that I was getting, they really just felt like luck, because you've got to pull so much data. You've got to call so many people when you're going about it like that. And I really want to build a business with a good foundation. And, what Driving for Dollars is no doubt the best list out there. The most up-to-date data. I just want a good foundation. I'd rather, if I have to go back to square one someday, I want to have a backbone that I can rely on, which it will always be. People will always have ugly houses. You can always send them postcards or call them. So I'm really just looking for certainty, maybe.
Gotcha. Yeah, 100%. And that was my thing, is I was in your place where I was sending a ton of different marketing and spending a ton on all these different lists, and it was like hit or miss. And one month it was dry and one month was better. And
yeah,
it was really hard to create that consistency. And it wasn't until I had a good Driving for Dollars system that I was like, I mean, there's still a little bit of ups and downs, of course. I mean, just like any other industry, you're not going to make the exact same amount every single month, but it was a way more predictable, and I had way more control over the lists and how many I got and how, the quality of the data. I really had ownership of that.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is I was doing really well off like code violations and evictions in my market. And when I first started, but the cities, they got together and said, hey, let's just put it on a state website so all these wholesalers will quit bugging us.
Yeah.
Which is great and convenient for us as wholesalers. But guess what? Every single wholesaler and every single flipper now had the link to this website,
100%.
and they were able to market to it. And so I went from doing deals to nothing in 2018, just like you did. So, which was really, really frustrating to be making a lot of money to just nothing. So Driving for Dollars, really saved me in my business. So, what have you learned, like now that you're doing these deals? If you could go back a couple years and give yourself some advice, what are the main things that you've learned?
Mentorship, paying for mentorship and coaching. You're not really paying for it. You're investing. You're making an investment for yourself, and cutting the learning curve on whatever it is that you're trying to do. So I would have told myself to find that sooner rather than later.
Yeah. What would you suggest as far as like, because like I'm a mentor, right? I'm coaching you and I can coach other people, but I'm not a fit for everyone, right? So Phil, why don't you give some advice on like picking a mentor? Because it sounds like you've had a handful of mentors now.
Yeah.
And some you may have liked more than others, right? And maybe some have added more value to your life than others. Let's not name drop. I don't want anyone's feelings hurt,
sure.
right? But I think it would be important to, that's a great piece of advice. And I agree 100%. But some people, they go, okay, I need to find a mentor, and they have no idea where to start. And they go and pay 25 grand for a package of videos that with no action steps, and just get a really bad place with the program that they choose. So how would you pick the best mentor if you were starting out?
Number one, find someone else that has already done it, or that's already doing what you want to do. So anyone that carved the path, like you've obviously, there's a lot of people out there that drive for dollars and make money doing it, but you have a systematic way of how you built your business out. So you've already gone through all the hardships of figuring the system out and spending the money. And now someone could just learn from you instead of spending, 2 or 3 years trying to do that on their own.
Love it. So for example, if you're wanting to flip houses because you love the befores and afters and you want to flip houses, you don't want to wholesale, I might not be a fit, right? I flip houses, but not on a scale that you would be excited about.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe I'm not a best fit. So find someone that's doing and accomplishing what you would like to accomplish. That's an awesome piece of advice for picking a coach. What other advice would you give for picking a coach?
Um, I think, I don't know, they just have to really, really jive with you. Maybe the type of marketing that they're doing really makes sense to you. And it's something that you can stick with long term. And there's tons of different coaches out there. There's tons of ways to market. There's tons of ways to negotiate and work on the sales side of your business. But
I love that you bring up marketing. So I want to add to that. So you said like every coach has their idea of how to market and do their marketing. Well, I'm going to venture to say there's a lot of coaches that actually don't talk a lot about marketing, which is a very dangerous thing in my mind for the success of the student, because I totally believe that real estate wholesaling, real estate investing of any kind is marketing. Right? We cannot do multifamily syndications, giant apartment complexes if we don't have leads. We can't do small single family wholesale deals if we don't have leads. Right. And so if your mentor that you're looking towards does not have a good marketing system that can prove, like a proven marketing system nationwide, right? It might like, for example, if they're saying pull the tax delinquent list, yikes, right? Because it might work in half of the markets across the country, but you're not going to know if it's going to work in your market unless you go out and spend the money and hope that it works. And if it doesn't work, then what? Right. And so, my whole coaching all started off of my marketing system. Yes, I believe it works in every market across the country, competitive or not. So yes, I love that you said marketing. So definitely when you're looking for a mentor, ask about marketing and how to produce leads, because you can't have any kind of business without that. Is there any other advice around coaching that you would give?
Look at it as an investment. You're going to get a return over the long term.
Love it. No, I agree with that 100%. I've paid a lot of money for programs and it's been well worth every investment, even the bad investments, right? Where learning experiences. I want to add one more thing as you guys are out looking for a mentor. Do not hire someone because they brag about how many hours of content there are, right? The more they give you to sound like it's a good deal usually means more overwhelm and lack of direction, right? You need to find a mentor that gives you a proven step-by-step action steps, right? Not like we give you 500 hours of video and we give you all these packets and worksheets and workshops and this and that. Like they're just trying to make you feel good about giving them money and not necessarily like, hey, this is exactly how we help our students do deals. This is the time frame. This is how long it takes you to get this part done and this part, and it's action steps, right? So be very careful that you're not buying for information, but you're buying for action steps and instruction. Also keep in mind there's coaching and then there's information products. Information products is just a bunch of content, which is great. I mean, I'm not dogging on them, but you need to understand the difference. But you don't have anyone to ask questions and you are going to hit hiccups and barriers. And if there's not any type of support, it's going to be a little harder, and make sure that you actually get support from the people that are doing it. Sometimes mentors or coaching programs, they set up, oh yeah, we have our coaches that help you, but they're just like coaches that they hired to coach, not necessarily coaches that are wholesaling. Right.
Right.
And so I would make sure you know what you want. If you want an actual coach to help walk you through certain problems, make sure you ask about that. Like I said, I'm not a coach for everyone. I'm not a fit for everyone. But if you have any interest in booking a call and finding out if we're a fit, you can go to my website. It's in the show notes, dftmastery.com. And it's by application only. So you have to book a call, fill out the application, and get on the call with either me or my onboarding coach. and go through that process. So what other advice, Phil? So, I had asked you what sage advice now that you're experienced would you give yourself when you first started? So the first thing you said was mentorship. And I love that, because I would agree with you 100%. That's one of the number one things that people miss out on. What other advice would you give?
Focus. I think one of the biggest struggles for me has been lack of focus, because there's so many shiny objects out there. There's land, there's Airbnb, there's being a real estate agent, there's wholesaling, there's flipping, there's buying rentals. So for me, I've gotten really just laser focused. The only thing I want to do right now is build up the bank account with wholesaling.
Yes.
And I've got like goals and steps set in place, and those may change over time, but I've wasted a lot of time this year and even the past 3 years jumping around from idea to like niche to niche.
Well, that's awesome advice. There's the funny thing too is the more success we have, the more money we make, the more connections we make, the more opportunities we actually have to say no to, because success breeds more opportunity, right? A lot of people say success breeds success, but it's success breeds opportunities, right?
100%.
And we have to choose which opportunities we take, because if we say yes to everything, it actually can mean less success than we would have had if we would have just done one thing. So let's talk about this year that you've had. Have you had a pretty good year so far?
Yeah. I mean, I could have been better, of course, but I'm making progress. Every month is just kind of one foot in front of the other and making progress and working towards some of those goals that I've set.
Gotcha. And what are some of those goals that you've set, and where are you in relation to
them? So by January 1st, I wanted to have 50 grand for my wholesaling business in the bank. And that's where I, at that point, I feel like I'll be able to make the leap and actually do this full time and start building a business from it.
Yeah.
So I'm about one deal short of that, and I actually think I'm going to hit that by the end of the month with a couple of things I've got in the pipeline.
Wow. So you're going to be able to go, hopefully, with everything by January 2021, you're actually going to be able to walk away from your day job with $50,000 in reserves and just be able to wholesale full time.
That's the plan.
Is that scary?
A little bit. Yeah. I've been, this past couple weeks, I've been trying to figure out what's been giving me anxiety around it, and there's always that feeling of uncertainty and fear, not really knowing how it's going to pan out. Even though I've seen some consistency over the past few months, in this business, you can spend a lot of money on marketing on top of just covering your own personal overhead.
Right. Right. Well, I'm going to give you some advice and some advice to the listeners as well. So, Tony Robbins talks about the 6 emotional needs that all human beings have, right? And certain people have needs for certain emotional needs more so than other people. And we all take care of those emotional needs in different ways. So one of the first ones that he talks about is certainty, right? Certainty is a very important thing. And so the certainty that we're going to have a place to live and food and shelter and, that those kinds of things, right? But there's also the opposite. We also need uncertainty, right? There's a reason we go on adventures and vacations. Mm-hmm. And, some people prefer certainty over uncertainty. I'm more of the uncertainty, right? Mm-hmm. I like to go on trips that aren't planned. I like to get in a backpack and drive up into the mountains and backpack up through and not have a plan, not have a safety net. I like a lot of adventure. I don't like the same tasks over and over. I'm a terrible employee because of that. Right. But, what I'm trying to say is it's okay to have those emotional needs and to have those fears. Mm-hmm. And so for Phil and anyone listening to this, it's okay to have those feelings of uncertainty. Even though we're having success and we're moving in the direction that we want, we will have some discomfort, right? Because what discomfort is growth. because it's not comfortable to get out of our comfort zone because we lose that certainty that we're holding on to. Right. And so one of the things that I encourage you to do to overcome those feelings of fear is gratitude. So gratitude is the most powerful emotion that we can feel. And it can overcome all other emotions, fear, anger, stress, all of those things. We can overcome it with fear. And so, or with gratitude. So what I often do is if I'm not in a good place emotionally, or if my emotions are not serving me and my, where I need to get to, I'm not saying you shouldn't ever feel anything other than gratitude, right?
Yeah.
But if you're having a disempowering emotion or feeling and I want to change the way I feel, I start with gratitude. And then whatever feeling that I need to have, like I need to have certainty, I need to have confidence, I need to have, this grit that I can do this and just dig in and go to work. I'll start with gratitude. I'll put myself in a position imagining an experience that fills me with so much gratitude that I had in my life, and I feel those emotions all over again and put myself there and focus on that. And then I focus on an event or situation in my life that gives me the feeling of empowerment or the feeling of strength or the feeling of whatever it is I need to have to accomplish the task that I have at hand. So, when you said, I don't really know why I'm feeling that, it's because it's new, right? It's uncomfortable, and that's okay. But more than anything, Phil, I really want you to be proud of yourself, right? Because you've done amazing things. Like, you didn't give up. You had some struggles and you still found success, right? Like, you should be very, very proud of that. And that you're this close to being able to accomplish the goals you had set financially, for having that base to take care of your family and still move forward. Like, it's very, very impressive. What do you had also said this year that you had some shiny object syndrome that kind of got in your way. And I assume you would have accomplished the goal you had set sooner in the year if you wouldn't have gotten distracted. What were some of those distractions that you had?
As I think this came from maybe last year, I was really looking at the land model. So I've spent a lot of time, I bought a small coaching course for that. I sent out some direct mail. I've done a few deals here locally. So that was, several weeks of my time went to that. Different marketing channels. I've done some pay-per-click this year, which has worked, but it's kind of, I did it and then I stopped and there was no consistency, and I could have used that time just focusing somewhere else. And I spent time looking at flipping houses, looking at building a portfolio with the BRRRR strategy. And it's still, even last week, I spent 2 hours just looking at the Airbnb, like, rental arbitrage model. I was like, this looks really, really great, and I'd like to do this in addition. And then I keep coming back and telling myself, instead, I just need to focus all of my time and energy on what's been working.
I love it. I love it. I want to, a lot of people are going to hear this. I guarantee you a lot of people are going to hear this and think, well, he's getting education, he's learning. What's wrong with that? Right. And that might be true, but where your focus is, that's where your energy goes. And where your energy goes is where you get your results and your outcome. And if you're spending your efforts and energy and thoughts and focus on things that aren't producing value to you, like revenue, guess what? You're not going to have any. Right. So there's a big difference between dabbling and learning, right? Learning is, so like there's 4 levels of understanding, 4 levels of learning. There's the things like, for example, Phil knows that wholesaling works, and he knows that because he's doing it, right? He's actually experiencing it. There's things that we think we know, right? So for example, people that have never wholesaled a deal, but they watched a few YouTube videos or maybe even paid for a course, they think they know how to wholesale. Fair enough?
100%.
And then there's the people that know they don't know something. For example, someone goes, yeah, I heard about something on TikTok or YouTube one time that you can like flip houses with no money. I don't know how that works. They know about wholesaling, but they don't really know what it is. They know they don't know. And then there's things that we don't know, right? Which is a lot, right? A lot of things that we have no idea that we don't know about them. So what's very important is if we spend all of our time on things that we don't know, or that we don't know, and things that we think we know, we never actually get to that higher level of understanding, of actually doing and implementing and living it. So is the burst strategy great? Is flipping houses great? Is Airbnbs great? Are all these things potentially can make you money? 100%. The reason I love wholesaling so much is because we get in, we specialize at finding off-market discounted properties, and we get to sign them, right? And then it opens up more opportunity, right? More success breeds more opportunity. So then we can say, hey, I really think Airbnbs complements my existing business model. I'm going to open up a branch of my company to do Airbnbs or to flip houses or whatever it might be, right? But the problem is when we shift our focus from what's working, then we lose success. So there's a great book. It's called Traction. And towards the end of the book, it talks about one of the number one rules in business is that whenever we have an existing functioning business, right, that's serving us, it's paying, we never, ever, ever take any kind of resource from the existing business. So we never leverage debt for this business to start another. We never take people from this business and start another. We never take income from this business to start another, ever. Right? So if Phil's the only employee to his wholesaling business, and then he takes all of that time and energy away from wholesaling to a different business, he's stealing resources from that business. And not only will that business fail, but others will fail. So I have a coaching business, right? How did I go from a wholesaling business, a wholesaler, to having a coaching business? Well, I made it so the business was functioning without me. And I no longer have a position within my wholesaling company. I don't go on appointments. I don't do anything. So when I spend my time elsewhere, my wholesaling business doesn't struggle. Like we're still hiring people and I don't do the interviews. Like we're still doing the marketing. I don't do the marketing. We're still doing leads and selling leads. I don't do any of it. Right. And so for us to be able to then shift our direction on a whole nother business idea, we got to make sure we're not taking resources away. And it's the same thing with picking another marketing channel, right? Let's say we know driving for dollars works, but we want to do PPC as well. Okay, you can do PPC once your driving for dollars system's automated, right? So Phil knows how important it is to have a driver, right? And unless those leads are coming in consistently, that lead source is going to die. And so we have to make sure that's automated before we bring on one more marketing system. Or let's say we want to open up a second real estate market. Well, we need to make sure we're automated functioning, and it's not going to hurt our progress here in Utah if I want to open up a market in Florida, right? Like I have. So you got to make sure you do them in the right order and have things in place. Phil, I want to share one more little piece of advice that I got from my mentor.
Sure.
Right. So I was talking to him about what my goals were and where I was going and that kind of stuff. And I had this new idea, this new exciting project that I wanted to do. And I told him about it, all excited, right? And he said, Zack, you are being selfish. And I was like, geez, man, that's a little harsh. What do you mean what are you talking about? And he said that when we start a business or when we're thinking about starting a business, all of our excitement comes for selfish reasons. Because we think, oh man, if we start flipping houses besides wholesaling, now instead of, every I'm doing 2 deals a month, instead of making an average of 20 grand, now I'm going to make an average of 50 grand. This is going to be easy. This is going to be great. And you're only thinking about how much more it's going to bless ourselves. Right. And that's why we're excited. But what we're not thinking about is how much value we have to add. the relationships we have to build with flippers, the private money we have to put together, the stress, the real estate agent, all of the things that we have to do, that we have to give to serve, because we don't receive unless we give, right? So we're so focused on what we're going to receive that we completely ignore and look past. We're overly optimistic on the input that it's going to require. And if we really looked at it with real eyes and realized how much work it was going to be, it was going to take away from what was already working. It was actually going to make it go from 2 deals a month to 1 deal a month. So it's going to cause all this stress and not make us any more money and get us burned out, right? And so be very careful, everyone, when you're looking at new opportunities. Is it in alignment with your goals? Is it going to take away take away from what is currently working? And so be very, very careful of that. Man, there's such great content that you've shared and tips that you've shared. Is there any other things that you would like to share with us on this journey that you've gone through over the last few years?
I don't know. I can't really think of anything.
Do you like to read? Are you currently reading a book right now?
I do. So that's one thing I've been really pushing myself to do more recently. The book I'm reading right now, it's actually here on my desk, is called The Alter Ego Effect. And
Yep.
I don't know if you've read that one. And I know someone posted in the Facebook group kind of about what book everyone is reading right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Our
some other
Facebook
people
group for
shared.
students. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, is it Ego's the Enemy? Is that what you said?
The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman.
I haven't read that one. I haven't. Is that one been pretty good?
Yeah, it's been really good. And I'll tell you exactly why I'm reading it. One of the biggest struggles for me, I've talking to other people I've coached with and looking at personality profiles. I'm really I'm an accountant by trade, right? So I'm used to sitting behind a computer playing with spreadsheets all day. And the sales process is such an important part of this business. And it's been really hard for me to really get good at that part. So this book, it talks about everyone that's successful has this alter ego one, and the specific person they reference is Kobe Bryant. He calls himself the Black Mamba. Like on the basketball court, he's the Black Mamba.
I'm the Black Mamba.
Yeah, so and they dig into other examples too, but athletes, performers, entrepreneurs, they use this power or this idea of the alter ego to be the person that they need to be successful in certain situations.
That's really an interesting thought process.
Yeah. And
it's kind of like we rise to the title we give ourselves almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, when I get on the phone and I'm talking to sellers, I'm not the same person that, spends 8.5 hours a day sitting behind a computer desk crunching numbers.
I love it.
It's been good. It's been a good read.
I love that, you shared that you don't feel like you were the best salesman, right? I mean, is that fair to say that you considered yourself not the best salesman?
100%. Yeah.
So how did you overcome that fear? Because like you said, you had to rise to the occasion, like Kobe did, right? To be the Black Mamba. But what was it? Like, how did you overcome those fears and those insecurities and your ability to convince someone to talk to someone about signing a contract?
And telling myself that I have to do it. Like if I really want to hit the goals that I've set for myself, this is just part of the work that needs to be done. So I don't know, whatever I have to do to figure it out and to do it, until I get to the point, I'd love to hire an acquisition manager someday, because having someone take care of that sales process and allowing me to do other things, I feel like would be such a relief. But, for now, it's something that has to be done. And I've learned a lot. I think getting into this, I knew that my sales skills weren't the greatest, but I can do it. I can do it. I can get on the phone. I can negotiate deals and I can get contracts signed. But I don't necessarily love it.
No, sometimes we have to do the things we don't love to build what we want. Right. So, I assume that one of the first positions you'll want to hire is an acquisition manager and get that task off of your plate. Man, well, you're making great progress. You've done very well. You're so close to being able to walk away and do this full time and still have that sense of security, at least a portion of that.
Hmm.
Um, I know we talked on the phone the other day, and I'm very proud that you're that close. Very excited for you. And then if anyone wants to reach out and ask you any questions or connect with you, would you be willing to talk to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone can reach out to me on Facebook or, text me or call me. I love connecting with other wholesalers, around the country. Um, I've met a lot of really good people this year, and I want to like to continue growing the network. So
Gotcha. So,
anyone, anyone
so
can reach out.
Facebook, it's Phil Gore, correct?
Yeah, Facebook, it's Phil Gore.
So PHIL, and then last name is GORE.
Yeah.
And then what was the other place they could find you?
Um, can I drop my phone number? Do you not recommend that?
Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want. The phone number's
Yeah,
fine.
actually, Facebook, good. It's Phil Gore. I'm on there quite a bit, so if you message me on there, I'll get back to you pretty quick.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share your story and inspire other people. And again, if anyone is interested in applying to become a student and get direct access to me and to my course content, you can apply on my website at dfdmastery.com. Just hit book a call and fill out the application, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much, Phil, and we'll talk again shortly.
Yes, thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.